Hello and welcome to the very first episode, watch my eyes get big, of the Always Better Challenge show. I'm Joe Bedford, I'm your host, and like the first episode of any show, this is scary. So I'm just going to be real honest about that up front, and so I hope you will bear with me. Very excited to be here with you today, though. I'm going to tell you about what we have planned for this show in the future, obviously. One of the things that I think I want to do on this show on a regular basis, and so I think this is as good a time as any to start, and a good way to start us off, I hope, is with a motivational quote. And the quote that I'd like to introduce today is a quote by Thomas Edison, and I don't know if I should say I'm paraphrasing this. I think I remember the quote fairly accurately, but I am doing this off the cuff. The quote is, someone asked Thomas Edison, of course, as you know, I imagine everyone knows, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, among other things. And it was a hard process for him inventing the light bulb. Took a lot of work, took a lot of failed attempts. And at one point, as I've heard the story, he had tried 1,000 different configurations or experiments trying to invent the incandescent light bulb. And none of them worked. And so someone apparently asked Thomas Edison, well, how does it feel to have failed 1,000 times in trying to invent the light bulb? How do you keep going? You failed 1,000 times. And Thomas Edison replied, I have not failed 1,000 times. I have successfully discovered 1,000 ways that do not work. I love this quote. I love this story. For so many reasons. The biggest part of it, and one of the things that's going to be a cornerstone of this show, I promise you, is the importance of mindset. How important do you think that mindset shift that Thomas Edison did from perhaps what you would think of as the normal response to such a difficult path that he was on? But he flipped it around and turned it into a positive thing. And of course what he said was correct. What he said was true. It wasn't like this was some pie in the sky, imaginary dream that he was telling himself. This actually was a fact. Each failed attempt got him closer. He learned from each one of those failed attempts, and that got him closer to the ultimate success that he had in inventing the light bulb. So that's my inspirational quote, motivational quote, a little bit of story behind it for today. And as I said, I think this is something that we'll be doing on each episode. I always, and I'm gonna get into this too. But I mean, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show. Is this is the kind of stuff I love. This is the kind of stuff that's helped me in my life to stay motivated and to make my life better each day. In trying to decide how I was going to, or what I was going to do with this first episode, obviously an introduction is in order. And back when I was very young, one of my first jobs, I worked for a newspaper. And I wasn't a reporter, but I worked with reporters. And so, what I learned, and I'm sure all of y'all have heard this before too, the questions that you try to answer with a news story. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And so I thought that would be a good framework for me to use and try to answer and discuss those questions in relation to this show that we're starting today. Did I mention that I'm scared? Did I mention how scary this is? It is. For a lot of reasons, and some of them I'll explain as we go along when you realize the planning strategy, for want of a better word, that I'm going to try with this show. It's scary. Folks have, I've been teased all my life as being someone who likes to talk. Well, we're gonna find out how much I like to talk. Okay. So as I said, I guess the first question that I want to answer, who? So obviously I feel like I need to tell you a little bit about me. My name is Joe Bedford. My current joke that I'm going to have to get a lot of mileage out of the next month or two because it's got an expiration date on it. But I like to joke that I'm 49.99 years old. My 50th birthday is fast approaching. It's next month, actually. Looking forward to it. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, United States of America. I'm sure I've got international viewers already, right? Hope. I was raised in East Tennessee. I grew up in a little town about an hour south of here, Sweetwater, population about 5,000. What else do you need to know about me? I've been an entrepreneur, self-employed for over 10 years. My joke there is that, I'm unemployable. I obviously didn't make that joke up, but that's a common way that the self-employed refer to ourselves when we realize that, because when you, in working for myself, it would be very difficult for me to go back to a situation where I'm not the boss, to be frank. At least I live or die by my own sword, as the saying that I think I just made up goes. I think I just mangled my metaphors on that one, perhaps. I've done several entrepreneurial endeavors with different levels of seriousness over the years. Back in the 90s, I guess probably one of my first ones was a website design company, and I'll have to talk more about that in a later episode. Lots of lessons to learn there. Like, for one reason why I didn't stay in it, because I was very early into that game, and if I'd stuck with it, probably would have been pretty successful. But we'll talk about that sometime. But I think that's important for you to know that I've been out on my own for over 10 years. My current main venture is I own a residential house cleaning service, Hausfrau House Cleaning, and as I say, that's been for over 10 years. What else do you need to know about me? I'm a, whatever word you want to use, a self-help nut, motivation. I've always been into motivation and inspiration. I've always felt like, anything that I can do to keep my mindset is so important, but also tactics. And that's, again, going to be a big focus of this show, almost like a dual focus. I want to motivate you. I want to inspire you. I want to be the rah-rah guy. I want to be your cheerleader. I love doing that. I think it can be so helpful. But I also want the show to be informational. I want you to learn. I want us to learn from each other. And so I want both of those elements to come into play. As far as being a self-help nut or a motivational nut or whatever you want to call it, I just tried to think of, some of my major inspirations or folks that I've had exposure to, folks that definitely are a big part of what's inspired me to do this show. Brian Tracy is the first one who comes to mind. I'm sure many of you know him. He's been a motivational speaker, primarily for, I guess, business and sales, but not necessarily. But he was one of the guys, I guess it was in the 80s when I first was exposed to him. And he did the audio cassettes, and that was my introduction to him. Again, I'm giving my age away there, but I've listened to so many Brian Tracy audio cassette programs. I guess my favorite was probably The Psychology of Achievement. I think that's arguably his best known work, but he's done a million of them. He's still around today. He's got a website. Again, I'm going from memory here. Brian Tracy International, I think. Anyway, Google him. You'll find him. He's great, and he's probably one of my biggest, if not my biggest, influences. Someone that I was exposed to more recently that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with is Darren Hardy. He is the author of the book The Compound Effect, one of the best motivational books that I've ever read. Definitely recommend that one. He has a video show. He emails it out every day. It's called Darren Daily, and I watch it every morning. As you can imagine, that was a huge influence for this show, a huge inspiration. Excuse me. We're not editing, by the way, so there'll be drink pauses and the like. Again, I'll talk more about that later. Thank you. David Allen. Now and again, this is important in regards to the show, that, as I said, it's not all about motivation. And David Allen, although he's certainly motivational, he's more tactical. He's more informational. Some of you are probably familiar with his Getting Things Done book. I read Getting Things Done, I guess that was in the early 2000s. It might have been the late 90s. That book changed my life. I mean, that is no exaggeration. It I completely rethought the way I did work and the way I managed my expectations, and I still use a lot of it to this day, and I'm sure that's something that we'll talk about in future episodes of the show. So maybe that's enough of the who. I don't want this show to be about me. I'm like the least important part of it. I really am. It's about you guys. But I want this to be a relationship, a friendship, and I want you to know who I am, and I want you to know I'm a real person. I'm not a polished, and I'm in case you can't tell by watching me stammer and stutter, I'm a regular guy who had not a crazy idea to do a show, and so I'm doing it. So that's who. Next comes what. So I guess we need to talk about the show, my vision for the show, what it's going to be out of the gate, what I hope it can become in the future. The first, I guess, thing to talk about is what the show is going to be about. And my quickest explanation of that, my elevator pitch, if you will, the show is about ways for you to make your life better every day in every way, as cliched as that is. That's what the show is about. This show is about, I want it to be a positive influence. I want it to have a positive effect on the lives of every single person that watches it. And I want it to help you move the ball a little further down the field every day. Simple as can be. So I hope that's a narrow enough focus. This is one of the things that I've, the concerns that I've wrestled with in planning this show. The experts all say, specialize, 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 focus, focus, focus. I hope that's focused enough, because when I've thought about the different topics that I want to cover, it arguably is kind of broad, because I want to talk about a lot of things. And what it really comes down to is I want to talk about the things I'm excited and passionate about. I hope that's not too selfish. But I think that my excitement and my passion is going to translate, hopefully, through this video screen. Oh, that may have been scary what I just did there. Hopefully it's going to translate. And so, I've got to talk about things I'm excited about. Besides, it's my show. I get to talk about what I want to. And we'll see. Maybe the focus will be narrowed later. That's one of the things I've thought about. I'm certainly going to solicit feedback from my viewers, you guys. I want the show to be what you need. As I said, at the end of the day, I'm the least important person here. This show's about you. It's about what's going to help you. And so if what I'm doing is not helping you, I want to change it and do what is helping you. Again, pardon me while I take another drink. By the way, they're not a sponsor, but this should be the first sponsor of the show. I'm completely addicted to the cherry chia flavor of the Synergy Kombucha. It's great stuff. Not a sponsor, but call me folks, Synergy folks. Just to sort of finish my point about the scope perhaps being broad, but what I asked myself is, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to make their life better? Who doesn't want tomorrow to be better than today? Who doesn't want to be a better person tomorrow than they are today? Better, happier. I think happier is something I really want to drive home, because that's the goal, right? That's the goal. Whether we're talking about monetary success that we're trying to go for, or be more organized, or healthier, or better family life, any of those ways that we're trying to make our life better. I think the goal at the end of that is to be happier. And so that's my philosophy or strategy or overview of the show. Another very important thing I want to mention about the show is that I hope it grows. And again, I keep getting a little ahead of myself here, but, well, obviously this show is not polished, high-tech. I'm shooting this in the basement of my home. I actually, I plan to shoot it outside. And I may do some of that in the future, just because it looks better, and I don't have fancy lights, so I thought the outdoor light would look better. Decided to do it inside today. For one thing, it's cold outside. And for another thing, I do have some notes in front of me that I'm referring to, and I've got those up on the computer monitor, and that's a little bit easier. And so that may be something I have to do forward because I don't have a script, and that's something that I've teased and that I'm going to talk more about. So I do hope to grow the show. Okay, and I'm hesitating here because I'm trying to decide if what I want to talk about here is the answer to what or when. It's probably both. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. I've already kind of said I don't have a script. And I don't plan to edit this show. I plan to turn the video on, record it, and it's done. The reason for that is, well, there's several reasons, and we're going to get into that more in the when question. But just to say that for now, that's my plan. In the future, that may change. Obviously, taking more time to prepare a script and make edits, I understand that would make the show, arguably more entertaining, better, less rambling. I'm trying not to ramble without a script. Because that's important to me, too. I can't tell you how many podcasts and shows I've watched and listened to. And I tuned into that show for a reason. I didn't, and this, not to sound harsh, but, I didn't tune into that show to hear about the host's, day, hear 10 minutes about what his day's been like. And, I tuned in for him to discuss the subject of the show, what the show's supposed to be about. And so I want this show to be that as well. I don't want to ramble. I don't want to talk a lot about myself and my day and what my dog did. And I want to talk about things that are going to help you. Motivation, inspiration, information. But that, as I said, that may change in the future. I've also given some thought as to because obviously I'm going to have a framework for the show to help me organize it, and I want it to be consistent. I want you to kind of know what to expect each day when you tune in. So here's kind of where I'm at right now. This is very preliminary, obviously subject to change, like everything about this show. But I kind of thought of some categories that the show could be divided up into. I think one of the categories is definitely going to be mindset. That is just so critical. It's something that I feel like I've learned a lot about myself over the years, and learned tricks and tools to keep my own mindset good and in a place that's productive and that is going to help me to reach my goals rather than hindering me from reaching my goals. So I think that's definitely something I'm going to want to talk about each episode. I guess the meat of each episode, and I'm not sure how to explain this except to say, just a tactical focus. I think I'm going to try to select, one tip, tool, trick, and to talk about that, in some depth and to really explore that. I apologize, that may sound vague because this show's brand new and I'm still figuring it out a little bit. But that's my idea for what's going to be the second part of each show. For the third part, I was thinking I would like to delve a little bit into a resource that I use and that I think would be helpful to you in the area of making my life better, motivation, inspiration, organization, anything like that. So it could be a website, maybe a podcast, maybe another video show like this. Just any resource that I use and think would be helpful to you, and I can talk a little bit about that and explain why. Probably going to do something similar after the resource segment. I'm thinking more of a product segment, so an actual thing I use, an actual tool I use. I mean, simple as that. A tool I use that helps me and that I think would help you. And the last part of each show that I've thought about, the show is called the Always Better Challenge. I gave that some thought, and I like that name. ABC, first of all, I hoped that would help maybe make it easier to remember. But I liked the idea, always better, I think goes, is self-explanatory because we want to always be better. We want to be better tomorrow than we were today. But I love the word challenge. I love the word challenge. I was glad when that word occurred to me as a word I could use. I was like, yeah, I got to use that because I want to be your coach. I want to be your cheerleader. I want to be the rah-rah guy that's encouraging you. But I also want to push you just a little bit. I want to do that. Actually, the more accurate way of putting it is I want to encourage you to challenge yourself because that's what it boils down to. I can't make you do anything. I don't want to make you do anything. I want to help you make yourself reach. That's the best way I know to say it. Okay, so that's, I guess, enough about the what. Let's talk about the when. And we talked about how scary this was. My vision for this show, I like the idea of it being a daily show, and I like the idea of it being about 30 minutes. That's a lot of talking. So I'll be honest, although I like that idea, I'm intimidated by that idea as well. Especially because, as I've said, at least for the time being, I plan on trying to do this without a script and without editing. So the thought of talking to you 30 minutes every day off the cuff, that's intimidating. Maybe it's not practical, I don't know. We're about 22 minutes in today, and so far, I think it's gone okay. I've never done this before. Let's be honest. I didn't know if I would be able to talk for this long without running out of things to say or being, just freezing and not being able to think of what I wanted to say. So far, so good. So that's the goal. And I'm not sure exactly why it is that appeals to me so much. I think of shows that I watched when I was young, and if I really liked the show, and fingers crossed, I'm hoping y'all will really like this show. I hated to have to wait a week. The shows that were on every day, that was just so exciting for me. The shows I loved, whether they were in syndication or whatever. I'm not going to embarrass myself by saying what some of those shows were when I was a kid, but I like the idea of daily. So weekdays is what I'm thinking. And 30 minutes, and again, maybe it's just, my age. I keep referring to this as a TV show, and I know that's probably an outmoded phrase to use, in the world of YouTube. But, that's what I grew up on. I grew up on TV shows. So in my mind, I think of this as a TV show. So that's my goal, daily, 30 minutes. We'll see if that's practical or not. If it's not, maybe it will be shorter or less frequent. I do want to make, the most serious pledge to you that I can make, that because I know that whatever the schedule is, it has to be consistent. I can't have you wondering when the next show is going to be. It's got to be consistent. I can't. The show, especially given what the show's about, if I can't be consistent in producing this for you, then what good am I? So it's going to be consistent, and I hope it's going to be daily, and I hope it's going to be 30 minutes. I like the idea of it coming out in the morning. It just, it just seems like the perfect time for something like this, doesn't it? Start your day, I don't know if I'll be able to record it in the morning, though, and I'm not recording this in the morning. I may not publish this until morning. Haven't decided yet. I kind of think maybe I'll publish it in the morning, so that may be how it goes. And again, I don't know how important that is. I may be worrying about that too much. Okay, we're doing who, what, when, where, why, how, where, here. I'm in my basement. Like I said, I may do some of the episodes outside. We'll see. I know it would look better. And gosh, I maybe should have done this upstairs in the house. I'm down here in the basement. I hope it doesn't look like I'm in a bunker. Again, trying to have the positive mindset, though. I want you to know I'm a real person. So yeah, I'm a regular guy sitting in the basement talking to you. There's worse things than that, right? And again, who knows? Maybe we'll eventually do some remote broadcasts. Go to some other areas outside of my home. I do hope to be able to have guests one day too. That's in the future. That's not in the immediate future. But, I'd love to do that, whether it's in-person guests or video chat, something like that. I don't have all the answers. There's plenty of answers I don't have, and I'd love to have some other folks to talk to with you. So I guess that gets us to why. Why do I want to do this show? And that's the easiest question to answer, and it's the hardest question to answer, because I could probably talk about it for a long time. The simple answer, as cheesy as it sounds, and I promise you, Scout's honor, that it's true. The real reason I want to do this show is because I care. I want to help people. I like helping people. It feels good to help people. And if I can make somebody's day better, it's again a cliche, if I can make one person's day better, then it's worth it. But that's true. That's true. I mean, what better goal is there than to help somebody out? I've been the recipient of so much help over my life. We all have. And I'm so grateful for the help I've received. When someone's given me a boost or even just an attaboy, I want to do that. I want to do that for you guys. And I don't know everything, but I've been around 49.99 years. I've learned one or two things, and I'd like to pass the things that I've learned on in the hopes that others will find them helpful. And, if you find one thing I say helpful, then that's great. If the rest of it isn't helpful, discard it. If it doesn't work for you, doesn't fit your life, discard that. Just because, there's no one size fits all. And what works for me, maybe it doesn't even apply to you. And if it doesn't, then leave it here. Hopefully I'll be able to present things that are going to apply to lots of folks. That's my hope. And another thing is, as far as why, again, this may sound selfish, I'm trying to make the kind of show that I would watch. The kind of shows that I have watched and, listen to podcasts and audio cassettes. And I've always loved that idea of a show or any kind of media content that I can expose myself to that just picks me up. And so I hope that I can be that for you guys, for my viewers. And that's another big part of the why. I mean, when I got the idea for this show, I was lying in bed, not able to sleep, which is unusual for me. And the idea just sort of popped into my head out of nowhere. Who knows? Like some of the best ideas sometimes do. And I just couldn't let it go. And as scary as it sounded, and as intimidating as it sounded, and as maybe crazy harebrained as it sounded, I couldn't let it go. It just felt right. It felt like, yeah, that's something I want to do. And it's something that I think I can do, and that I'll be good enough at it that people will get benefit. So that's my hope. So it looks like I've been talking about 29 minutes. So I answered one question. I didn't know if I'd be able to do that without a script. Thank you so much for sticking with me if you did. I want to hear your comments, your suggestions. Please, please, please. As I said, I want this show to be what you want. Maybe you think 30 minutes is too long. Maybe some of you think that. Maybe some of you don't. I don't know. I know it's the other thing. It's a big time commit for me, but it's a big time commit for you too to watch. Although you can always, turn it off, come back to it, do whatever you need to do. But give me your comments. Give me your feedback. Oh, please. I mean it. Again, please, this is a big, the big ask from me. Please subscribe. I don't want you to miss an episode, and that it encourages me. It lets me know that people are listening. People do want to see more of this. It lets YouTube know that. It lets the internet know that. Makes it easier for more people to find the show. And that's a huge goal for me. You know, if I'm going to put the time and the effort and the scary, being scared and all that to do this show, obviously I want as many people to watch as I can find. I mean, maybe not everybody. Maybe this show isn't for everybody, but I know there's got to be plenty of people out there that it is for, and I got to find them. I got to find them, and I need your help. So talking about needing your help, please share this. Share this. You know somebody that needs a boost. You know somebody that would be interested in a show like this. Tell them about it. Tell them about it. Go on social media. Go on LinkedIn. Email them. Call them. Tell your buddy over the water cooler at work. Send them to the YouTube. Send them to our website, my website, which is alwaysbetterchallenge.com. I'm on all the social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Send them. Tell them to watch. Ask them to watch. Well, is that it? Subscribe, share, email, who, what, when, where, why, how. I think we've talked about everything. A little bit over 31 minutes. Hey guys, again, I can't, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching. I can't put into words what it means to me. I hope to talk to you again tomorrow. I've said that. Daily show, we're going to try it. We're going to try it. Fingers crossed. Tomorrow. Until then, thanks so much. Have a great day.